Scientists just found an 11th dimension inside your brain. Your brain isn't just processing reality, it's practically building it from the ground up. And scientists have just discovered it might be doing this in a way nobody ever thought was possible. Back in 2017, researchers in Switzerland stumbled upon something that sounds like it was pulled straight from science fiction. They found that our brains are constantly creating incredibly complex structures that have up to 11 dimensions. And no, that isn't a metaphor. This is a very real discovery that could completely rewrite our understanding of the human mind. Part 1. The revelation. So what does it mean to have an 11-dimensional structure in your brain? A team at the Blue Brain Project was using a digital reconstruction of a piece of a rat's neocortex to map how neurons connect. Instead of just a tangled mess, they saw something amazing. A universe of hidden, multi-dimensional geometric structures. The lead neuroscientist, Dr. Henry Markram, said, "We found a world that we had never imagined." Now, it's critical to understand these are not physical dimensions, like a tiny parallel universe. Instead, the scientists were using a branch of math called algebraic topology. Think of it as a special kind of geometry that doesn't care about curves or shapes, but only about the pure rules of connection. One of the mathematicians on the team described it as a telescope and microscope at the same time, able to see both individual connections and the overall structure of the neural network. Here's how it works. When neurons get stimulated, they link together into groups called cliques. When two neurons connect, they form a one-dimensional object, a line. When three neurons all connect to each other, they form a two-dimensional object, a triangle. When four connect to each other, you get a three-dimensional object, a tetrahedron. But it didn't stop there. As more neurons joined these cliques, the objects they formed reached higher and higher dimensions. The team found tens of millions of these, often with up to 7 dimensions. And in some cases, they found cliques with up to 11 dimensions. This wasn't random noise. The brain was actively building a hidden, highly organized architecture that had been totally invisible to neuroscience until now. Part 2. The bridge. Okay, so the brain is a multi-dimensional geometric factory. What's the point? The researchers described the process like a multi-dimensional sandcastle that materializes out of the sand and then disintegrates. When your brain processes information, it starts building these structures, going from 1D rods to 2D planks, 3D cubes, and into more complex shapes in 4D, 5D, and beyond. As these structures form, they create empty, high-dimensional spaces the scientists call cavities. Then, just as fast as it appeared, the whole thing collapses. This fleeting, incredibly organized process is thought to be how the brain actually thinks. One researcher, Ran Levi, said this shows neurons react to things in an extremely organized manner. For years, scientists have wondered where the brain stores memories. Dr. Markram has speculated that memories might be hiding in these high-dimensional cavities. The idea is that the complexity of a task could correspond to the complexity of the sandcastles our brain can build. A simple thought might only need a 3D or 4D structure, while a deeply abstract concept might require an 11-dimensional one. In this model, a memory isn't in one specific place, but is held in the ghostly echo of these high-dimensional voids. It suggests the brain isn't a chaotic computer just firing signals, but a precise geometric architect, building and unbuilding realities in dimensions we can't see, but can describe with math. If your mind is blown by the intersection of science and mystery, think about subscribing. We release new videos every week that explore the very nature of reality and challenge everything you think you know. Part 3, the exploration. All right, now we're going to take a big step away from the peer-reviewed paper and into the wild, fascinating world of speculation. It's really important to state that what follows are not the conclusions of the Blue Brain researchers, but mind-bending what-ifs sparked by their discovery. The scientists were clear. Their findings are about mathematical structures, not physical ones. However, it's hard to ignore a spooky coincidence. For decades, physicists working on M-theory, a leading candidate for a theory of everything, have proposed the universe is fundamentally made of 11 dimensions. Is it just a coincidence that the math describing the fabric of reality and the math describing the structures in our heads both land on the same number? Almost certainly, yes. The dimensions in the brain are abstract, representing connectivity, while the dimensions in physics are part of space-time. Still, it's a fun thought experiment. This has led some thinkers to ask a radical question. Is the brain just an antenna? Could consciousness be something that is received by our 3D brain, not created by it? This is where we connect with some of the most controversial but intriguing theories of consciousness. One of the most famous and most heavily debated is the orchestrated objective reduction, or OR theory. Proposed by Nobel laureate Sir Roger Penrose and Dr. Stuart Hameroff, it argues consciousness isn't from neurons firing, but from quantum computations happening inside tiny protein tubes in those neurons called microtubules. Most scientists remain skeptical, pointing out that the brain seems too warm, wet, and noisy for delicate quantum effects. Another physicist, David Bohm, proposed a theory of an implicate order. He believed our reality is an unfolding from a deeper, undivided wholeness where everything is connected. Bohm saw consciousness as part of this process, a constant flow between a hidden, enfolded reality and the explicit world we see. Like OR, this idea is highly speculative and outside mainstream physics. When you mix these speculative ideas with the blue brain discovery, a breathtaking picture starts to form. Could the brain's 11-dimensional structures be the biological key that lets our consciousness interact with these deeper layers of reality? Are those high-dimensional cavities more than just memory storage? What if, and this is pure sci-fi territory, they are the points where a deeper reality unfolds into our conscious thoughts? This vision resonates with what spiritual traditions have said for centuries, that our 3D reality is just one plane of existence. These traditions talk about a universal consciousness, an interconnected field where the line between self and universe disappears. While it's a stretch, some see a parallel in quantum entanglement, which shows how two particles can remain linked no matter the distance. It's important to note this doesn't allow for information transfer, but it does show a strange, non-local connection that challenges our classical view of the world. Conclusion: we started with a concrete scientific discovery. Researchers found the brain builds geometric structures in up to 11 mathematical dimensions. This is revolutionary on its own. It gives us the beautiful sandcastle analogy, a dynamic, fleeting architecture that might finally explain how the brain processes information and stores memories. But the implications ripple outwards, touching on the biggest questions we can ask. The eerie overlap with M-theory's 11 dimensions makes you wonder, even if it's just a coincidence. Controversial ideas like OR and Bohm's implicate order offer a potential, though unproven, language for how our biology might connect to the fabric of reality itself. This leaves us at the intersection of neuroscience, physics, and philosophy, with a question that's both exciting and profound. If our brains are building pathways into an 11-dimensional mathematical reality, and some physicists believe the universe itself is an 11-dimensional structure, are we getting closer to showing that our consciousness isn't just a byproduct of the universe, but an inseparable part of its very fabric? What do you think? Is this just a mathematical curiosity, or is it a hint of a revolution in how we understand consciousness? Let us know your craziest theories in the comments. And if you want to keep exploring the edges of what's possible, make sure you subscribe. The next discovery is always just around the corner.